Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks podcast with your host, Katriel. This season, we are embarking on the journey of the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. And we have our Pisces in-person teacher with us, practitioner, Elasa Tiernan. And I'm so excited for her to be here. She is my mentor and we went through soul school together. Welcome.
Yay, hi. So glad to be here.
So, it's so interesting to go for our audience. Oh, gosh, how many years have I known you? Since 2018. How many years is
Okay.
that?
Yeah, 2018. So we're going on 6 years.
6 years. Wow. That's a milestone. Yay. Doesn't
Yeah,
even
it
seem
is.
that long, right? But at the same time, it feels like lifetimes as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So, we Lhasa is the creator of Soul School and originally Soul Terra, and recently you've birthed our three miracles. Um, well, first of all, I'd like to ask, how did you start off this journey of just connecting higher to source and everything how you even created Soul School? I kind of want to start there.
Yeah. Okay, so I had a two near-death experiences, and I would say those definitely catapulted me into the direction of knowing that I was going to be coming here to teach, or I am here to teach, and here to bring in things that are very unique. And that uniqueness of each sharing will help to catapult the rest of the collective into their uniqueness and their acceptance of true self and true source and true creation. So my I guess it was in one of the biggest kind of dialing into teaching ascension and soul school was I was probably in my 20s, and I was doing cranial sacral therapy with children with like autism or diagnosed with autism, but I still call them very bright light beings because they truly are. And they were teaching me a lot in sessions. And I had a private practice, several in a row, very unique experiences opening up each center. It's like each time I'd open up a new center, more of my other incarnations from other timelines would start to reveal themselves. And what I kind of left off with, as far as like Chalice Wells and Glastonbury, and um, just in Grecian times and other star systems, Sirius B. And so I was asked, I was sitting in I was working with children, and I was working with more the body, talking to the body consciousness, because that's how we were trained, is to communicate with their body. And the body stopped talking and the soul wanted to speak. And
Mm.
so I was like, wow, this is awesome. And again, it's like this is like 20 years ago, a little bit more, and no one's really talking to that, or at least not in the circles that I was around. So I went home and I meditated. I was a meditator, taught yoga, and I heard, I started dialoguing with my own soul, and I heard, yeah, you're supposed to be teaching about this. You're actually supposed to be teaching about ascension. And I didn't even know what that word meant. So I had to look it up. And that led to, getting guidance to hold an ascension circle and to teach about talking to the soul. And at that point, I was teaching pendulums, how to use a pendulum. So that led into whatever I was doing with these children and at these centers that I was probably on like the sixth center opening up, and more of it was yoga based, meditation based, doing Reiki. Um, because I'll just add in, I went to University of Florida master program to study occupational therapy, and
Sure.
I was really disenchanted with the way things are being taught, as far as like, do a surgery, not really like looking at finding ease for the people who were so-called having a dis-ease or a disability. And so that really led me into teaching yoga. I found a Reiki school during my master's program that I was able to go, okay, this definitely I could weave into my practice when I get out of here. So that led to opening up all these healing centers. Well, coming back to what I was talking about, the children and meditating on what would I even do at an ascension circle. It was basically just teach what you know, teach everything you've started to like dial into, and especially help these people in these circles talk to greater consciousness. So
Mm.
that's what happened. And in each ascension circle from 2008, I would say once a month for all these years, teaching an ascension circle, or leading or guiding, because we were taught in the circle what we needed to be taught, as you know. And so
Yeah.
everything that comes to a circle through consciousness of the collective, usually a council of 12 arrives, everything that's brought forward is what needs to be digested for the beings who arrive for the circle or the event or the retreat or whatever we want to call it. And then ultimately what the collective is wanting to digest and understand or understand or download of their, earthly lifetimes, and then beyond that. And then consciousness at large, which in pure love state has no story and no history. So yeah, and then that led to 6 years ago, again, having a center and going, okay, we're doing ascension circles and retreats, but it was now this like really echoing of like soul school. So the souls want to go to the next level. And so another council of 12, which you were part of, arrived.
That was one of the most powerful times of my entire life. I
For sure.
for me, um I was I had just had the courage to shift my life drastically in regards to I was married and it was an unhealthy relationship, and um I decided to stick up for myself. um and like say no, this is not the direction I need to go. We need to go our separate ways. And I remember going to St. Augustine, one of the places where I really always connected with my granny, and she was one of the biggest influences and strongest influences in my life. Of course, that Leo energy. And I went to do a session out there. I don't even know if the place is still operating. It was called Sphere. And I had a session, and I literally came out of there saying, I really wish there was a place like this in my own area where I could learn more about the soul and go deeper and all of this stuff. And of course, uh, right before that, I had met Sammy. Um, and we were supposed to meet up after I got back from St. Augustine. And she says, hey, do you want to meet somewhere? And I'm going to take you somewhere. She took me that Wednesday to um, to Soul School, and I knew that was the the first day of the rest of my life, like truly. And because what you taught was like really thoroughly going through all the different aspects of the soul and how we connect. One thing I really appreciated, and this is something that we're going to be really talking about, I know, in the class, the Akashic Records, but the way you taught it with going through, I mean, I know you have so many charts now, but the charts, going through each and every single one thoroughly, was super impactful for me, because I had to ask, certain questions, and I had to feel through, more importantly, I had to feel through every single piece. And of course, as I got to know the charts more, it quantum leaped, to where you have the app today, which I would love for you to talk about. um, but it was such an impactful journey to take the time with my soul, to take this time with myself,
Yeah.
and to learn all these different modalities and tools and everything that could help me along my journey. So thank you,
Yeah.
truly.
Thank you for showing up. Yes. You're welcome.
um so could you talk a little bit about your Akashic Soul Pro app for a moment?
Yeah. So the chart you were speaking of was basically, looking at the Akash, the ether, the consciousness at large, space at large, all of existence, all past, present, future. How Akashic Records, Akash meaning all that I just said, and records being the recorded information in the slowed down Akash, which would then be light when it vortices from space to light, a particle, from a wave to a particle. That particle is holding information. And so, if all information is recorded and stored, past, present, future, dimensionally, and beyond, then when we look for those particles of light that are holding us like anchors, holding us into position, holding us into formation, and holding a ripple of formations from cycles, from the creation of time, which is just a cycle. And when we look at those anchor points, those details, that information, it's typically who, what, when, where, why. And so that in the who, what, when, where, why, there's a lot of whats in the world. There's a lot of whys. There's a lot of whos. And so that's how the charts were born, by finding what was the main details that people were pulling up. And what are the main maps, is what Spirit said, was find all the maps that people are identifying their reality with, like astrology and whatever we were using at the time was like essential oil map. We were using, crystals as a map. Like, well, you got Larimar. That probably means you want to speak clearly about your angelic self. So what were all the details and the maps that were helping people to make sense of who they were or what was going on in the Akash, in the field of existence? Because we're always looking to understand. The more we understand, we become more present. When I understand that I'm repeating a cycle from my grandmother and from her ancestors, and I understand why it is that I was here to be unique, because she wanted to be unique and to share her unique understandings. Whatever, I'm giving an example, but usually the examples are real. And so whenever I understand that, then what happens is a big ball of light, photons, plasmoid, a big ball of light, of particles, of literally, once they're understood, they're like, yay. And then once they're understood, they come back to a wave and back centripetal to midline. That's what centripetal means. And they come negentropy. They become organized again back through the torus. So when we understand, we go from chaos to organization. And so the chaos may be like, I don't understand why I'm trying to be unique, or I don't understand why, whatever the pattern is, or whatever I'm looking for greater clarity on. That's what the Akashic Record power can do, is by you doing a little digging and investigating, you actually find who you are and why you are and what you're here doing. Why are you here? And that can, again, bring you to presence. So it's all about being present and being super concentrated. The more super concentrated our photonic light is, that's into the soul. The soul is made of photonic light. The more super concentrated I am right here, right now, that means that I instantly say things and they happen. I instantly think things and they happen, instead of a cycle of, it seems like I said it, but it's not happened until 2 more years. Well, that's because there are a lot of anchors out in the field that are still not understood, creating time. And so it's a dance of coming home to now and to love. Because again, when there's misunderstanding, there's usually a choice that was made off fear. And that's the opposite of love. So once we understand why we made that choice and fear, then again, that understanding brings home the essence, brings home the soul light, and we have a whole new world to be lived in the octave of love, in the higher realm of perfection in the whole field. We're not just living, linearly anymore with just a transverse wave. What we're after now, especially at our three miracles, we're after a longitudinal wave. That's throughout the entire field. When we occupy the entire field, which is what the strong commands that came through in your, when I met you, was Spirit kept saying, tell them to occupy the field, not just their soul, 6-foot aura, not just the, oversoul that's like a big cloud. No, tell them that this is all them, and to reoccupy the plane of existence. And when you do that, that's when we move longitudinally. That's when we move as a monad. That's when we move as pure love. And all of our highest, wildest dreams can be true instantly, because you're here for, it's a game. For my reality now, this is a game to be here and see just how much fun I can have.
You mentioned a word that's been coming up a lot lately, and I would love for you to clarify for our audience, monad.
Yeah. So monad in Latin means the one, or one. So we're unifying our consciousness into the unified field as monad. So the monad has arrived. I have come, you have come, we have come. And then the coming of the one is the new. Everything is made new in love. Because if to unify, it has to have love. It has to be accepted and deeply allowed into the wholeness, perfection. So sometimes when we're looking at like the charts, if we get monad consciousness wants to speak, you could say, okay, the one wants to speak, or my greater collective that I'm understanding. And sometimes when we're doing this, it's a little bit less, not so all encompassing. Sometimes it's like a monadic group, like you and everybody who's teaching astrology, like that monadic tribe, or you and everybody who has, blonde hair. I mean, it can be that silly. But these larger packets of monadic presence. Yeah.
Love that. I just started teaching Kabbalah classes at Enchanted Spirits. And I just taught the first class and the repeat class of that. And the word monad came up in that because I was going through the different levels of the soul from the Kabbalistic perspective, which it's just different words, honestly, from what we have been talking about. There's just like in our collective consciousness, we essentially saying the same things with just different languages. And, I always go back to that, that babble, of like, and I feel like right now with the planetary energies, the way they are and how everything's coming online, I feel like we have this opportunity of electrifying the current and reorganizing that babble into one speak.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That makes sense with Energy Speaks. It is great.
Yes, truly. And that's what sometimes when you're working with the Akash, sometimes what had happened was I just started talking, like I said, to the body, and then you started talking to the soul, and then, the inner child wanted to speak. And all of these things are beyond anything. I mean, they're not, we're trying to define, the undefinable of consciousness.
right.
So through time and through cycles, we've identified with different words and called them different things. So that's what's been so interesting. Why there was so many charts is because there were so many aspects of consciousness, of details, of factors that people were actually, making reality based or connecting into to make reality. And so sometimes when we're doing the Akashic work, there's a consciousness chart that has 40 different types of deep identification of like who you're talking to, what type of consciousness. Is it your left toe? Is it, the unknowable? Is it source? Is it God? Is it a master, teacher? Is it, like I said, your personality, your soul? All these different words, when we were working, and we still work to this day, like if we're asking consciousness at large, if that's like a large umbrella to hold all aspects of self, if I can't get consciousness to speak, sometimes I have to actually figure out exactly what wants to speak. Is it my left toe? Is it the oversoul? Is it some word in the cabal, or some, Kabbalah, or maybe cabal, but is it some word of identification that that was where it was recorded from that lens? So it is babel because it's been, separated so many times, and all of that's held in the field, and you can just, do a big blanket like cast net and say, well, everything that ever was identified as consciousness or as who we really are, I'm going to pull all that in, and I want to go ahead and, transmute and transfigure any kind of patterns, imprints, anchors that are keeping me from truly knowing what I am, that's beyond a word. And that's a great, activation for self right now, just that was being called in. But in the discovery and investigation and researching knowing thyself, you may have to actually talk to something very specific to get a better view. Meaning maybe your inner child has a really strong record or recording of exactly what happened at 7, but the oversoul that you are isn't meant to give that information.
I love that. Just because it keeps going off in my head and I gotta listen. Just because you mentioned the word Kabbalah, I want to define that from the Hebrew. It
Yeah.
literally means receiving, which is really interesting, And I'm like tuning into that. So I'm actually going to go a little bit on this trail for a moment because we've connected with Pisces. Pisces energy is what we're bringing to this series, essentially. And the step that is right before that is connected to the Libra energy. And Libra really says, hey, let's balance, let's harmonize and allow ourselves to receive. And I feel like it's so important to like connect with that receiving energy and what we're receiving, because allowing ourselves to actually feel that, because when we do come online to these higher energies, if we're not open to it, it's just going to be like, yeah, flies over us. But it's like an opportunity to connect to these energies deeper and truly have understanding. And that's a word that I love that you've presented. I don't know, did you come up with that, or did that just come
I don't
through?
remember. Yeah.
All I remember is that, in the bathroom, understanding. And I'm like, and that's truly what it is. It's like, because I always remember you talking about like, under what, like, but the inner world, having, that you're standing, in that inner world, and I'm like, wow, that opened up so many doors for me,
Yeah. It
All
is,
right,
and what we're willing to receive, we're coming back into the receptivity mode, and that's what the Akasha is, and that's what Pisces is, right? You're seeking in the unconscious realms of in the Neptune energy. So through doing this investigation and digging and being open to receive the information that comes to you, and that's what's so beautiful beyond the charts we use, beyond this app. You can see it beyond this app. It's kind of going in.
do you want to take your background off for a moment?
Maybe there it
Oh,
is.
wait, got it. Oh, I know I
It's
do
very
this all the time.
Piscean, right? It's coming in
Right.
and out. I will in
The
a moment.
illusion.
So, by doing that investigation of just sitting in meditation and saying, I want to have more clarity on XYZ consciousness, we want to address who are you speaking to? Are you asking your mother's consciousness? Are you talking to your consciousness? My consciousness, my inner being, whatever word is like intuitively nudging you to say it, how to say it, but you want to address and call it up on the telephone line. And you want clarity. I want to know, I want more clarity on this. And then you sit, right? And you breathe and you receive. And in that receptivity, you'll be blown away of the power of the imagination of what comes through. And then that's up to you to discern, is that what I'm hearing, or is that what I'm seeing? My consciousness, is that what you're trying to get across, to me? If this greater space is the greater inner being, inner and outer, this space, this consciousness at large is who I truly am, as all that is. And that is wanting to give me this smaller self, or this vessel, a deep, clarity that I have to receive. Then I'm going to kind of go back and forth and discern, is that what's coming through? Yeah, that's it. And you start trusting, right, your understandings. You start trusting the deep knowing, and you turn on different, like the whole being this avatar technology, the biotechnology that we are, starts turning on. And then that receptivity, that reconnection, it's always been there. You can't disconnect from the higher consciousness, but that reconnection, you then begin embodying. And that's why we did the muscle testing, and still do the body sway muscle testing, so that you embody what you're receiving and you become that. You've always been it, but you start to know it.
I love that. Wow.
So our class that
Yeah.
we're going to do on March 10th
Yes.
in the afternoon at R3 Miracles. So R3 Miracles is a reopening of the Stargate potential that was activated here as Solterra, before that as Bliss and beyond. But we're coming together in the physical, in the presence, in downtown Palm Harbor, to go ahead and do that kind of basic muscle testing and figuring out what wants to communicate to us in the Akashic Records.
Okay. Wow. And during this process, will we tap into past lives, or what can we potentially expect?
Right. Yeah. Anything. You may tap into future, past, present, interdimensional, dimensional, other sectors, other, other parallel realities, which is, I think, actually what I got for our session. I said, Energy Speaks Podcast, highest and best, is the intention for the app that I put on here. Let me come off my background. And so I'm basically just looking through this. I'm going to read it to us.
Oh,
but
please.
It said, angel self. So our angelic self is coming on, wanting to speak. And when I look at angelic self, I think of like my higher consciousness wanting to assist the human tribe and be like an assistant and help others. Who's connected? You. When parallel universe. What contentment? We're becoming into a deep contentment, and what's expanding is awakening. We're awakening in this parallel universe. I would say that we're going to merge that. Thalamus, which is it's like a bat-shaped part of the brain that holds pituitary and pineal, and it's a transducer for receiving higher consciousness from your greater intelligence. I would say like it's more connected to higher self and oversoul and beyond consciousness. It says why is because we know, client knows, planet is moon, essential oil is wintergreen, which is like a deep surrender. The energy part of the light body that's being activated is the perfection of the turquoise star, which is like the high heart, and being able to like really stabilize deep compassion. What's the temple door? There's something about a door, vehicle, ship, which I think I know what that's about. Element is silver. Superpower is clairsentience, coming on, stabilizing. Event is a circle. Geometry, dodecahedron, which is like the perfected fifth energy center. Crystal is garnet. Cleanse is gallbladder. The nature is volcano. The star is Scheat. I'm not familiar with that one. Let's look it up. And the solution is rescripting the record, which usually is about us speaking, right? Energy speaks.
Yeah.
And it's about us speaking something more clearly so that we do ground this parallel universe as angelics and angelic consciousness. And when it's a ship, it's usually about like a boat, which is water consciousness, and like coming out from underneath the ocean, undersea, and really rising to higher understanding of why you're here as a super conscious being. You're not here to be an enslavement. You're here to be a leader and to really, chart your own course above the sea, in the air, and beyond all elements in pure space, existence, which gives us a strong clairsentience. Like we can feel easily when we really do awaken from, being kind of like unconscious underwater. What came to you about that?
So several things. I just want to like share this because this is how you know it really works. Because there might be some skepticism, like, what are all these words? Like, I don't understand. And I've had to explain to others. I use this app all the time. I love it. First of all, the goal of this week was to create a crystal grid. Well, actually, last few weeks actually, but I got a lot of my crystals this week. The one that I realized that I was missing one of, any ideas what that was? Garnet. I need one piece of garnet. And I'm like, wow, okay. Because like, even like there's the physical world and everything like that. And it's like, what do you think? And like, do you really need that? Like, is it really that important? Well, that shows me right there. It is. It is important because there's something deeper going on there, connected. And Garnet, when we think about that, it's connected to Capricorn energy. It's about foundation. It's about business. And it's about grounding things in. And so what's super interesting with that is like during this grid, I really wanted 4 stones that were garnet. I happened to grab one that looked very similar to garnet, and I was like, no, that's not going to work. That's not the energy that I want. I don't want to try. I want a 4. I want that foundational plate. Now, the other thing that I was speaking about in my Kabbalah class earlier this week was the world that's connected to the angels, and it's connected to the ruach part of the soul, which is like the second layer of the soul, and it's connected with the world of Yetzirah, formation. God bless you.
Thank you.
And that's connected. And that's connected to this world of like our emotions and water and like, so everything you spoke of, you said angels, you literally said emotions and clairsentience, the feeling, the water, like all of that meant so much. And I probably could dissect even more, but those are the things that stuck out right away. I'm like, oh, interesting.
And it's interesting that it says the body part is gallbladder, and it reminds us to cleanse our gallbladder.
I don't have
gallbladder, well, that's probably why. And so you have
I still have an energetic one.
that never goes. Yes. So let's go ahead and cleanse, clear, release anything connected to everything that just said that needs to release and clear at the gallbladder meridians, which go out the 4th toe and both sides, and anything that needs to be cleansed, clear, release out of the belly button, anything that's clear, cleanse, clear, release out of the fifth energy center, the thalamus, the top of the head, the silver cord. And everywhere garnet energy can assist with the grounding of that. It would seem to be a parallel universe to be here right now at the highest and best. Occupying full self as a loving, angelic presence here to assist all beings awakened, awakening. We are awake, we are seen, we are known. We have come, we have come, we have come to make all things new. As love for love. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Man, I'm feeling guided to just pull a card of like connected to this. So this is bottle 17. Oh, wow, it's coming through greatly. And this is connected to the star in the Torah. In the tarot. Same. And we have the outward journey. And so this is an Orasoma deck. It has the green and which is connected to the heart, of course, and the violet, which is like healing codes and clothing ourselves in this robe of violet. I just want to read that for a moment. It says, a message of hope, a guiding light that comes out of inspiration, that we may have faith in the way that is our own path. A follow the star to where we are meant to go. It's called the Troubadour bottle. Also the Hope bottle, a new beginning of spirituality to get in touch with the star. And truly, with doing this class and even coming in, into your teachings, which are the teachings of the universe, truly.
Yes. Not mine.
The vessel, like you're the vessel, essentially. But this eternal teaching, we are accessing the star within us, the incarnational star. And we're coming online. And so I'm just so grateful for this conversation and connecting with you. Like, because every single time I feel like I go through a new rebirth. Every time I connect with you. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about before I speak more about the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. One, you're a published writer. I got to do this thing. Hang on, wait. No, okay. I will do what you did and take it off for a moment. Where's preferences? Okay. So I know you have multiple books, but this is just one of them. Please tell us about your writings and how we can connect with them, and what you feel like sharing in regards to. Yeah.
So when closing down the center and going on pause, I was guided to publish books that I'd kind of been waiting to publish and to learn how to publish. And so that's what I did. And in doing that, I was guided to write multiple quantum healing books and channel them. And I think that's the third one right there that you have, Quantum Soul Awakens. Yeah. And that also had at the end, it really spoke to the evolved Reikis of light, Raykeey, like a ray and a key. I was really a symbol, but I put words to it. But really it's like a sun and a key is what Spirit showed. And that when we are working with Reiki, which I taught and still teach at a level for years, that we really do have these unique light codes that come through. So as your soul's awakening. And that book also really speaks to about where we're at with quantum mechanics of the soul and being able to teleport, levitate, really what's happening when we're creating with our projector of the pineal and moving our vibrational frequencies through each energy center, but most importantly, the heart. And that when those two, the pineal and the heart, work together, that's you become more masterful about how we're actually projecting light that's stacked up on each other magnetically to create the reality in front of you on a green screen. So that's a fun book because it definitely talks to some practicality about what's happening as you awaken that level of consciousness and really take responsibility that you really are you're projecting this right in front of you, and how fun that is when you start, coming back out of any kind of amnesia about what's happening because you were under a dome or you were under a reality belief system that had you thinking everything outside of you was what was to be real and based on especially gross matter, why is instead that you are actually projecting all of this, and it's very malleable. So yes, those books on the quantum were channeled, and I actually had to sit still. It was very interesting writing those books. Literally things became undone around me, so I couldn't move. I could move, but I wasn't allowed to like drive a car because things were coming out of fixed positions. And while that was happening, it was best to be still, which I understand why yogis and masters would sit still in long periods of time while you're kind of coming open at these higher realms. So yeah, the books were fun, and it also was a strong call from Master Yeshua of like the Living Love Light Library, that all the books in the book nooks at the children's parks were not of highest caliber for the children to reflect into because they were plot based and antagonists and protagonists, and that there really is a new level of books being called forward by those who get the call within themselves to publish, beautiful love light books. And on top of that, or under at a level, a kind of sidestep is that I feel everybody has a book that wants to be written, and with that book is your own journal. Alongside that journaling, not speaking of your, the fear-based reality that you were under amnesia spells about, but more about writing words that you want. Writing your journal to be about what you're creating, getting ahead of creation and blueprint by writing pictures or drawing words. I reverse that for a reason. That we have these very important books, journals that are sacred texts of our creations. So I've done I think about 140 something books and journals at this point, and I've helped about 4 other authors so far in the past couple of months publish their books. And I'm not publishing for you, but I will guide you on how to do it yourself, which I actually think I showed you the steps, right? Oh, yay, there you go.
Well, you can add another one
that's
to
5.
your list.
Yeah, let's say 5. Yay.
Before I go there,
yes,
I
I'm
wanted
happy.
and this, Elasa is the reason that I was able to do this journal. I'm very grateful because I knew you had the codes, and it was so funny because what I heard for months, I was in Israel. I had this in my cart, but I knew that I wasn't really able to like get it shipped. So, like I'd had to pay a lot of shipping in order to get it to Israel.
Right.
So
yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I just didn't want to do that right then. I was like, I'll wait for the perfect timing and I'll get it in America and then I'll bring it to Israel. But I I knew as I kept tuning in, I was like, okay, when I purchase this book, when I activate the code in here, there was a code in there for me. And I knew it was reconnecting with you, 1. And 2, I knew it was the codes of getting my journal out there. And the next books that I have, I could feel it. And then of course later that week, I come, come on in to our three miracles. And I'm like, hey, do you want to do the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series? So, everything
I
is
love
in
it.
divine timing. I love it. It's great. Um, that
Yep.
being said, I just said our three miracles. What is going on at our three miracles? Times, dates, things they're happening.
Yeah.
Actually, I
So
should write this
Monday
down.
through Saturday, we're open 11 to 2. Someone's at the store, but otherwise things are by appointment and by event. And I do a couple things. Right now I'm doing Quantum Soul School has reopened on Fridays at 1. And so we have a group that joins. There's been a council of 12 the last 2 Fridays that have shown up. And anybody's welcome to come to that. Fridays, I think this next one we're talking about our eternal nature, understanding what it means to be eternal. And also we have like once a month, first day of the month, we have studying our superpowers. So we practice different superpowers. And the next month
What
might be
day?
telekinesis again.
That's
That's the
also
first
Friday?
Wednesday,
Oh, Wednesday.
first
Okay.
Wednesdays on
First
at 6
Wednesday,
7. Yep.
6 to 7 p.m.
Yeah. And we have you can come anytime and do we have these zero gravity chairs with tensor rings, which is a perfected field that you sit in, and you can lay back in zero gravity and do guided meditation. And that is pretty powerful just to sit in the chairs, even if it's only 15 minutes. The walls are activated here. I just did a call with Dan Winters a few weeks ago, and he wants me to talk to some temple builders in Bali about what I've done to the walls here. And we just got the equipment to go ahead and start studying what I've done to the walls. And we've got a plasma med bed, Therify plasma med bed, invented by Paul Harris and Dan Winters, and that's very powerful technology that builds plasma in the field. And when you're linking up to other planetplasma generators in the world right now, including the Soul That We Be at our heart center, it's pretty powerful what we're doing as far as creating that perfected longitudinal wave field for people to awaken and have instant healing. And it's great for time travel. So like a lot of the things that are all the technologies here, basically Spirit had said before we opened a few months ago that I needed to find any technologies that Nikola Tesla would have been teaching about or sharing as far as energy frequency and vibration, and helping people to see of course your aura, which is one of the second book, Quantum Interstellar Medbed Aura book, is about your aura is so divine and it's a starship, it's a medbed. And when you understand that, when you're in the right environment of your aura, meaning get grounded, put your feet on the earth, or you have these technologies like I have in the building that create this perfected field, or you sit out in nature, a perfected field, you only know how to be well, like you only know how to be super intelligent. Everything comes online. So it's a research center at this point, and a center people are doing their own healing, which is awesome. We've had so many miracles happen already in probably just about 4 months. And I'm finding that now that I'm back at doing sessions with people, which I wasn't for a few years because I was asked not to, but now that I'm back online doing sessions with these technologies, that's where a lot of the big quantum jumps are happening. Because if you find out why, you find out the root, you find out the conception point of what is holding you into fixed position, then I go have you lay in that Therify plasma med bed, which literally pulls you into phi double in reverse order. There's 2 beams of arrays of plasma, and they're spinning at phi ratio 1.618. You literally come into centripetal negentropic perfection quickly because you've allowed yourself to come undone in the field where it was holding you into some sort of healing crisis. So that's
Wow.
what we're doing
Wow.
here in a nutshell.
Wow. I'm very excited. My soul is being pulled that direction, I will say. And I'm also very excited for our class together. So
Yes.
both like what you're creating and what we're creating together, that co-creation.
Yes.
And I wanna speak on the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series for a moment.
Tell us.
Because everything that we've talked about, thus far is is connected. It's all connected, right? So we're in Pisces energy during this podcast. And so I kind of want to take us back through the model that I'm using for the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. The intention here is one, for us to come together, you know, meet new people, and to get outside our comfort zones. That's how we evolve and change and grow. And so when we're going to different locations, in the physical classes, or trying new things, whether it's on the online or the in person, maybe different topics we've never explored before, we change something alchemically within our being. And so that's one of the intentions here. But really, it's about getting back to source. And so I go through the numerology of 0 connected to Scorpio energy, which is all about the sacred space. And before we do anything, is carving out that sacred space for us, because we see that 0 energy. We have the primordial kind of chaos energies. We have this boundary that allows for this sacred space within. And so we're acknowledging that, and we're connecting to that energy. And then we're putting ingredients inside that sacred space. So where we've gone thus far is the first ingredient we put in is the heart, the love, that Leo energy, the sun. And so, we explored like painting and our self-expression, our authenticity. And when we're wanting to co-create something with the universe, we want to lead with that heart. We can lead with something else, and we may not like what the result is, but we know for sure when we're leading with our heart and we're authentic to ourselves, we at least have done that. And that's beautiful, because you can't go wrong with love. You really can't. And that second energy that we put inside, that ingredient, is our feeling, the vibration. It's our connection with our soul. So we're pairing that heart and our soul together. And our soul is everlasting. Like we've been talking about for this entire, podcast, is the soul is so expansive. And so when we link that with our bridge, the heart is the bridge from this world to the world beyond us. We're really connecting something big. Then the third energy we put inside is the Sagittarius, which is the stories we tell, the belief system. And if we're starting off with our heart and our soul, we have a really good chance to having a really great belief system here, because it's centered around the heart and the soul. It's the most purest form. And so that automatically comes to like, well, what stories are we telling ourselves that may not align anymore, may not be for the highest and best. And so we draw light to that, and then we allow ourselves, our heart and our soul, to expand. And then the fourth energy is the Aquarius, and that Aquarius energy is all about shaking shift up, allowing to find out where we belong, because often we have to figure out where we don't belong before we find out where we do. But we experiment. We find beings who are like-minded, and we come together, and then we shift frequencies together. And then we jump into that Gemini energy, that fifth ingredient, which is about communicating our ideas and our thoughts and just this inner communication. And we don't even get to that step at the very beginning because we're aligning all of these beautiful energies within us. Then that true, authentic communication really comes out and brightens, and clarity is seen. And then we get into this Libra energy where we harmonize and balance and we allow ourselves to receive, so that when we do come to that Piscean energy, we can explore new realms of understandings. And that sets us up for that foundation in Capricorn and our inspired action with Aries and the birthing of our manifestation with Taurus and our embodiment with Virgo. And the rest.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that time and space. I was like, man, I was on a roll. I'm excited because that's what it's about. It's about connecting to these energies in a new way where we break free
Yes.
of the old paradigm. And we're
Yes.
truly going back to source. And there's a rhythm, you know? And so this is a journal I created that helps us to go deeper into this. Thank you. It has like a little bit of explanation of like the different things I just spoke about, the intention. Has our nice little like you know, what we're going to be doing for the series for both the in-person and online. And then you can, you know, put your own notes in it. I do. And then we have like questions, lots of questions. Like this is a book that you can hold on to forever. And you set those beginning intentions, because when you go through all of the classes, it's, well, for me, I can't speak on everyone, but it's impossible for me to hold all of the information inside. I want to naturally write it down and start planting some seeds for myself to look back on. And when we do that, and we have different questions that prompt us that are exclusive to every single class, and we go through those questions, there's 7 core questions that I'll ask. And that's about, you know, connected to the energy source points in our body. And of course, we have more than 7 chakras, but like when we acknowledge different things in, you know, different themes, like the different things we're talking about in this classes in our different energy source points, we start to come online to new awarenesses. And as we know, those awarenesses are bliss. Quote by Elasa. So I, you know, I put my heart and soul into this journal, as I know you've put into your books and writings. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's on Amazon. And it's only $22.
Yes.
And of course, I'm going to be innovating it. And here's a little sneak peek that I have not told anyone yet. So on this podcast, it gets spoken. I will be doing this series again this year.
Cool.
And so that means we can go deeper and deeper each time into these energies, and we can learn new things and new awarenesses, because we need to take time with this energy. And time's like, you know, a thing on this planet right now, but when we sit with that and we feel into it, then we quantum leap. Time is like no longer like, it's like, oh, I'm just living my soul's bliss, you know? So I just want to say thank you so much, Elasa, for coming on here, for being part of this series. It truly means so much. And I received so many codes that's come through your vessel to even do this series, and I'm really, really grateful.
And I am so grateful for you. You being your most authentic self Priceless.
And I want
You've
to say
gifted us all with so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing myself to receive. I have to do that sometimes, you know? And I want to say thank you all to you divine, beautiful souls who are listening or watching. Um, it really takes a village, it takes a community, and we're doing this together. It can't be done
Yes.
by one person. It's not meant to be
No.
because we're one together, one soul.
Yeah.
And so I want to say thank you. And that is today's episode for Energy Speaks for Pisces energy. And I'm very excited for what's to come. And I'm excited for what's in this present moment as well.
Thank
I will
you.
I will see you all divine beautiful souls later, and please hit subscribe and share this with someone because love shared.